Right on time, gang, so thank you very much. The next presentation is Paul Tishinen.
Yes.
Going to talk about ubiquitous broadband connectivity, essential for student success in a rural area, I guess Mendocino County. Paul's the superintendent of schools for Mendocino County. He's one of the 3 founding superintendents of the California K-12 high-speed network and has served on the scenic board and is chair of the superintendent of public instruction's K-12 high-speed network advisory board, and he's currently advocating for community-wide broadband as an essential part of improving K-12. So, Paul,
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. And this isn't as fun as did any of you see Connie Stewart with the singing gnomes from? We'll say that till the end if there's time. But the interesting thing is that I don't have any answers. What I really want to do is have all of you raise your awareness to the challenges that we face in California. And so I really want to give thanks to Russ Sulkin and Luis Wong from Butte County and from Imperial County, because I took everything's a learning experience. I took their PowerPoint that they presented to the CPUC and said, well, can't I add some slides? So the good slides they did, the other ones I added, and in the process I learned how to make a PowerPoint. You know, as a county superintendent, you don't have to do that all the time. Somebody comes along and says, okay, just give me the concept and get out of my way, we'll get the work done. Well, the K-12 high-speed network is something that the university, no, which one am I supposed to push? Is that the next one? No. What really happened in the beginning is there was something called Net Day. And some of you may recall that as where the universities, back to the microphone, thank you, there we go, where universities, businesses, and others decided that they were going to reach out and wire school sites. And it first started in 1995, the concept, and then went national in 1996, and people would come in on the weekend and wire Cat5 wiring into classrooms. Not the most perfect solution, but a start. Then there was a program called Golden Net out of the Kern County Office of Education, where they tried to reach some of the rural settings in eastern California. And they are the ones that kind of coined the phrase, the digital divide. That was the first time that it really came up. And that was relating to as much poor communities as opposed to rich. That digital divide now is something we're finding in the rural versus the urban or the suburban districts. Then came the Digital High School Project, which was about $125 million that the governor gave to State Department of Education, and they tried to bring at least one school lab at every high school in California up to the state of the art in the moment. That was 15 years ago, roughly. Not very successful right now. Then came the Digital California Project, and that is where money was given to the University of California by the governor to create the network that has turned into the K-12 HSN. So it was called Digital California. And that was networking into them. So a quick short history, 2000, 2001, that's the Digital California Project. Then through 01, 03, 04, the services then were passed from the UC system to Scenic. And then the legislature put out and said, who's going to run this for us? And just like universities have different systems of endowment or projects, what happened with the network for K-12 is they said, is there a county office out there that would be willing to do it? Well, nimbleness Transparency and flexibility are something the Imperial County, Butte County office, and Mendocino County office brought to their bid. We were the little David, and we went up against Goliath. LA County office, San Diego County office, Fresno, and the state said, we think you guys have a great model. So when we finally accomplished that, then in 2006, it was set in the Ed Code that K-12 HSN is permanently funded on a statewide basis, and Imperial County is the LEA that operates it. CalRAN, all of you are familiar with, that has the UC, CSU, Community College, and then the private universities, and a vast majority of the K-12 schools directly connected. This is the map, you've probably seen it, but of what the connection is. This is really kind of the process. There are different responsibilities at different levels for the connectivity. And as we move forward in K-12 with implementing Common Core and the Smarter Balance testing system, all of that is going to need to occur with connectivity. And we're already discovering as people are trying to prepare for the pilot that they're taking starting in a few weeks, or right now actually into June, they're saying, well, we have a one-to-one, we have 1,000 computers in our district, and we may not have prepped properly, but we aren't going to tell you that. The problem is the district office. The district office says, oh, no, the problem is connectivity to the county office. County office says, oh, you know, CalRAN doesn't give us, we don't have enough connectivity through Scenic. So it's really kind of what happened in Napster back when I was on the Scenic board, where all of a sudden, when all of the colleges and universities opened up on August 17th at 12 o'clock, by 1:15, everybody was on board using Napster and downloading. Well, we're having the same thing in schools. Kids are going on and downloading an app for their iPhone or their iPad and not taking the test, and the districts are saying, the internet's too slow. Well, so those types of problems in connectivity. This is kind of a chart that shows the different levels of connectivity that we have going for that. And this is a map of Mendocino County. Now, those of you that don't know, Mendocino is halfway between San Francisco and Eureka on the coast. And I'll talk about it later. We have significant terrains. We're the challenges. We are the 7th largest county in land coverage, but our population, we only have 80,000 people. So you can see those are the locations of the major school centers that we have. This is kind of a diagram of the network and how we connect to them, utilizing a consortium of school districts and then going through Scenic with the E-rate application. So we apply for E-rate to keep the cost of this down. The drivers for bandwidth are the Common Core state standards, the technology embedded in those standards, and schools that have a one-to-one or BYOD, bring your own device implementation that can drag down a network. The online computer assessment, Smarter Balance is the one that California chose, is one of the other things. What happens if everyone turns on to take the test at the same time because someone is complaining that it's not fair that my window testing is the second week in April and these other schools' window testing is the third week in June? You have months of opportunity to better educate your students, and yet you're going to compare, or parents are going to come back and say, you aren't doing as good a job as District X because you tested 2 months earlier. So, and then the transition that we have to schools using either the online or off-premises things. There's also through Scenic, some of you may be aware that the state parks has an online video program that we have. Luis, what's that called? Why am I doing? The Ports program that is really significant, where a classroom can have a live interaction with a state parks ranger at a location. So Alturas can go down to Orange County and go underwater with the state ranger, or they can go from the desert up to the redwoods in Humboldt. So those are high bandwidth demands. The theme that persists is increased appetite for bandwidth. All of you know it in anything that you're doing, private, at home, anywhere else. Suddenly there's a drain on it. The network traffic growth is not, just arithmetical, it's geometrical as things explode. And then what we're discovering is the leverage that we have to have among the different sectors, particularly like if we're working with a UC or a CSU on doing everything from visitations to college, preparing students for college, or they're doing it online, or they're conversing with a professor. And then lastly, and I'll touch on this in a second, there is an equity issue when technology is embedded or needs to be embedded in 5 minutes in the curriculum. Okay, so ConnectEd on a national level has just come out, and they've said, calling for connecting 99% of American students through the next generation. We already know that the whole concept that Scenic worked on a number of years ago about gigabit or bust, meaning that you need a gigabit to every single home in the United States, then we have true equity. So the pricing circuits, this is something you can see. It's online if you're interested in that. The draw, when you look at 1,000 school districts in California, is huge. The volume, the multiplier effect is huge on what it's going to cost. In Mendocino, Humboldt, Del Norte, Trinity, and Butte County, on all of the northeastern parts, as well as down into parts of Kern County, we have what I call the 3 R's. Rural, that's one factor, depending. Remote is the other one. You have some rural settings that aren't remote, but in Alturas, they're remote and rural. And then in Mendocino County, we have redwoods. Now, I don't know about you, but we have something between Fort Bragg, where I live, and Mendocino, where the county office is, and we call it the Redwood Curtain. It's only 30 miles, but it takes you an hour to get from one end to the other. And if you're trying to do wireless, and I'll show that in a second, the communication, the redwood trees reach out and take all of the connectivity down on you. And the last is the reality of an ROI dollar. It is not feasible on a local level for any vendor to realistically provide a return on their investment that benefits it. When you only have 13,000 students in a county and they're spread across that huge area, no vendor can honestly do it without E-rate and or national support. Equity for access for student learning will come up. There's a thing called Williams lawsuit in the state of California that said every single child should have equal access to a certificated teacher, approved instructional materials, and a safe and secure environment to learn in. That is what technology and connectivity are going to, in about 3 years, ACLU will file another lawsuit, and they will include that as a criteria. And that's the way we'll get the ruralness. Community centers also need to be connected, and because of blended learning concept, which is part online, part not online, students are going to need to be learning 24/7, and so they need connectivity at their home. This is just a quick model. I stole this out of the wireless mobile broadband assessment. The information's there from the person that created it. But this map shows where wireless is there. And the interesting thing is, wherever a vendor has some wireless, they're using that to claim that they have connectivity. And the Golden Bear project that just got canceled, was designed to help at least kind of a horseshoe of Northern California, along the coast and into the Sierras. But this is an example from a Press Democrat article about someone who is using a wireless connectivity. He has to stand close to the window because it's in a redwood tree of his next door neighbor. So this is an example of our network, and those are some of our staff that are working on monitoring that. And this is our fearful leader at the last conference that we were at. And the real key here is contact us. One last quick thing. Do I have a minute and a half?
30 seconds.
30 seconds. Well, I just want to show you that. Now what happened? Okay, here we go. Another thing, I wanted to show you one of the redwood trees. Here we go.
Is that the signal-sucking redwood?
This is a signal-sucking redwood tree. And this is looking from Willits out to the ocean. And this is the ocean. And, that's part of the challenge. And the only way we're going to solve our connectivity is, I used to say small used unmarked bills in a brown paper bag because that works in Mendocino for most economic development. But instead I've discovered that abalone works. And every year you saw the picture of me preparing, I dive for abalone and I fly it back to our congressman. Because only when there is federal support that says you will connect like the rural electrification for agriculture will we get connectivity. And so I was pounding abalone and a couple people walked in. Luckily, I had the chance to, with the Save the Salmon Nation t-shirt, to say, lobby for let's get the rurals connected so we have equity. Thank you very much.
We have time for one question.
Sure.
All right, no questions.
Yeah.